I actually have availability to admit as well. Looks like.
Okay,
Who
Patty,
should
you're
be
good to go.
presenting the slides?
I am. I've got it on my computer.
Okay, Patty, we're all set.
I think we're ready to go. Welcome everyone to Cahperd Core Zoom presentations. My name is Patty Supay. I hope that you are enjoying these valuable presentations hosted by Cahperd. So far, the response has been overwhelming, and we are so pleased to be able to pull together these great presenters to offer teachers what they need. We need to remind you that these series are being offered for free. Creation of these series and much others behind the scene work is done every day by dedicated volunteers such as those that are here today helping with the tech side of this presentation. Thank you so much for Cahperd volunteers, Jessica Monlix and Shelby Lozano, for your great help and continued help with the Cahperd Core. Remember, this is work and advocating for our jobs. The return of our minutes and PFT, as well as quality instruction, relies on your membership. Our jobs depend upon it. Now, before we bring our special guest presenters in today, we want to let you know that all of our sessions so far in this series are available on the Cahperd website, along with the resources that are utilized in each of these presentations. In addition, you can find these presentations on the Cahperd YouTube channel, as each session, including this one, is streamed live on YouTube. Our next course session after this one, you will not want to miss. We'll be hosting a discussion board with NEA and CTA board member Mel House. Mel will be sharing with you CTA resources and going over the ins and outs of working with your school, your district administrators, and your local CTA to ensure that your program is recognized and that health and physical education remains a valuable subject in every child's school day. Now, today's course session is entitled Health Education, Comprehensive Sexual Health Resources, and California's Healthy Youth Act. Our guest presenters are Janice Price, Amy Strevel, and Christopher Pepper. Janice Price is the program specialist for the Orange County Wellness Team at the Orange County Department of Education and the current VP-elect for Health Education at Cahperd. Christopher Pepper is the present Cahperd VP for Health Education. Christopher is now Health Education Content Specialist at San Francisco Unified School District School Healthy Programs Department. He coaches new teachers, writes curriculum, designs and leads professional development, and advocates for high quality health education instruction. In addition to Christopher's responsibilities as a teacher leader, he makes time to write, speak, and advocate nationally for quality health education. His work has been featured in distinguished outlets like the New York Times, National Public Radio, and Edutopia. In 2019, he'd received Cahperd's Health Education Leadership Award. Amy Strevel, MPH, MCHES, is the Director of Community Health Education and Outreach for Planned Parenthood, Orange County, and San Bernardino counties, where she has been implementing and supporting comprehensive sexual education for over 9 years. She participates in many local and statewide youth serving coalitions and was selected by the California Department of Education to sit on the Curriculum Review Committee for the 2019 Healthy Framework revision. She enjoys supporting teachers, parents, and schools with technical assistance and training to achieve California Healthy Youth Act compliance. And now we are excited to present you tonight's speakers on health education. Remember to keep up through Cahperd's emails and social media for announcements of our future presentations. And I'm going to turn this over to Janice Price.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I'm actually going to be sharing my screen for a second throughout the presentation, and the three of us are going to be talking with you tonight. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to share my screen while Chris is going to open us in our training today. So let me, I'd also too like to encourage you to please use your computer along with us. Be involved in this meeting. We want it to be very interactive. We're going to be teaching you and using a Jamboard. So we'd like to have you be interacting with us through this training. So we'll put the Google presentation in the chat here, and I'm going to hand it over to Chris.
Hi, everybody. It's great to see you here. Thank you for making time to be with us today. Our objectives for this meeting are pretty simple. We want to make sure that you all understand how sexual health is addressed in the state standards for health education in California. Learn about this law that passed in 2016 or came into effect in 2016 called the California Healthy Youth Act. You'll sometimes hear people talk about that and call it CHYA. It's a really, I think, really great law that requires sexuality education, comprehensive sexuality education in middle school and high school, and puts California at the forefront of health education across the country. We're going to talk about sex ed and distance learning and how in the world can we make that work? What are the possibilities? What are people learning? And we'll talk about some other resources for support, teaching, and ongoing professional development. A few guidelines as we move through the evening. Try and keep student equity at the center. Think about the young people that you work with and keep their best wishes in mind. Speak your truth, but listen with your heart. Be respectful. Trust the process. We will get there, even if it's sometimes a little bit bumpy. Be aware of your privilege and be a role model for wellness. And we're having this meeting on Zoom. It's a little bit weird. So think of it as a face-to-face meeting and conduct yourself as if you were with real people in real life. Have your video on as much as possible so that we can see you and interact with you. Mute your microphone when you're not talking so that we can all hear the person who is talking. Try to avoid talking at the same time as other people so again we can hear each other. And we have this great chat feature. Feel free to use that to ask questions or share information. And we will be sure to share that out with everyone. All right, we want to see who's here a little bit.
Yeah. Okay, so while I'm doing this, Chris, can you copy the presentation and put it in the chat? If I am to close right now, it will mess up my screen share. So I'm sorry about that.
Yep, we'll do.
So for those of you, we'd love to hear how who's here with the group. There was actually 160 people registered, and I'm guessing on a Tuesday night with the news that we've gotten the last couple of days, we might not have as many participating. But we're so thankful that you're here. So we'd like to hear from you to be able to meet you too. So what we like to do with our welcome and introduction activity is that we are. Is everybody able to hear me okay? It just popped up that I'm muted. Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me okay? Yeah, okay, great. Never mind then. Okay, so what I like to do is show you how to use a Jamboard. Have any of you used them before throughout school and learning when you're doing professional learning with your students? Maybe. Let me show you how to do this as we collect and hear the introductions of who's here with us today. So the way to use a Jamboard, it's actually free, part of Google Suite. You know how you have your Google Drive where you have Google Docs and Google Sheets, that you will find a little icon here. It's this one right here that stands for Jamboard. So if you'd like to use it in the presentation, you can have a link to it. We'll also put the link to this Jamboard in the chat. That way you have access to it. I see everybody popping in over here. And what you do is imagine it like a big Post-it board that you have in your classroom. What we'd like to do is to have you introduce yourself. So I gave my example here with a yellow Post-it note. My name is Janice Price with Orange County Department of Education. And like it says on the blue Post-it note, give us a weather report of how you're feeling today. It's a great way to check in with your students where they can feel like they can really be truthful. And maybe you can follow up with them too if you're seeing what they're posting is a little bit worrisome too, or happy. You want to celebrate something good with them, right? So how fun is it to use an image to describe how you're feeling? So what you're going to do with the Post-it note is you're going to go over to this icon and a sticky note comes up. And this is where you write your message, right? Like what your name is, okay? So you can choose what color you want to use here, whatever you'd like to do. So there goes my Post-it note. I see somebody in here already. This is fantastic. Now look at over here to the side, our image icon, right? We use it in Google Slides. We use it in our social media, but you just click on that little image and now you're able to do a Google image search of how you're feeling. I mean, right now it's a little bit sleepy and dinner time, or maybe you've had a great day at work and you want to find a sunny picture. And you want to, maybe we don't do sunny. Oh my gosh, isn't that funny? Maybe a sunset type picture that you want to insert. You hit select and then you're able to have that image right next to, you could put it right next to your name. So what we like to do is give you a few seconds. I see a lot of you playing in here, which is fantastic. I'd like to, if we can, keep it on this one page. If you'll notice at the top, it says page 1 of 3, because we're going to come back to this page, Jamboard, frequently. But this first question is just introducing yourself on page 1. Okay, and if you have any questions, let us know. We can help you if you're in the chat, or if you want to come off mute and ask us a question for how to use this, we're right here with you. Yeah, I would say kind of like a Padlet. I see people noticing in the chat. That almost looks like Celeste, the picture of a Huntington Beach pier or Orange County pier versus Northern California. I see a thunderstorm though, huh? Thank you so much for participating and doing this with us. Some rain. Many colors in our sunsets that we're choosing.
Janice, is this something you've seen people use successfully with students?
I've only been trained to use it with students. So actually at this time I haven't, to be honest with you. You might need more than one page too, huh? Does anybody have a comment of maybe how you'd modify it to work with students too? This activity, I mean, I've used Jamboard with students, but this one
that's
right
what I
here is
meant.
someone new.
It sounded like some people were new to this technology, so it's for me. I've seen it. A lot of our health teachers in San Francisco have been using this for different types of activities and having a way for all students to kind of work on something at the same time. And I think students especially like that it's so visual and you can put in photos or images. Seems to be really appealing.
Good feedback, thanks.
And we have a reminder from Tina in the chat to have people use appropriate images.
And it looks like I'm seeing a lot of either physical education, science, or health teachers would be the majority of our audience here today that's joined us. Okay.
How do you make an image smaller?
So you can click on it right here and just grab your arrows and, well, that's moving it, but grab where you get your arrows like this and you're able to move it and change the size. Okay, well, we'll have more time to practice this too, because we're going to come back in here 2 more times and be able to add some more thoughts and questions, reflections. This is a great way to collect reflections and again, anonymous student work if you like to too, which especially when we go into talking about relationships and sexuality and identity and being equitable, it's great to be able to have a platform for your students to be able to share their feelings in a comfortable, very inclusive environment. So this is a great way that we'd like to start with you thinking about too. Okay, so I'm going to come back to the presentation and thanks so much for participating in that one. We are also too going to start with this video to kind of set the stage for how important sexual health education is and how much students really are interested in it too. Amaze.org, we're going to talk about this resource throughout the presentation too, but definitely one that you're going to want to note as an excellent source for resources. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. This is sure fun, trying to share your screen while you're, I can't get to it. There we go.
Raise your hand if you would say that you got accurate, inclusive, comprehensive sex ed. I feel like that is a good gauge, right? I mean, I am from the same state that Carla is from, Texas, and Texas hasn't updated our state sex ed curriculum since the year I was born, which is 1994. So students like Carla in Texas are still being educated by this very being actual, inclusive, accurate sex ed, right? Like, what are some of the topics that you want included? How do you want your sex ed to change? And if I could start with Carla first.
So one of the main things, like you said, in Texas, it's like very limited, and it's like you're either it can even be like erased from the curriculum, and just like as long as they like touched on it just a little bit, that's like acceptable in Texas. So I know for my own sex education, it was like you can have sex and you can have, there's condoms, and then that's basically it. They limit our knowledge, and to be more inclusive, we can have like Vivian said, more transparent. I think she said transparent and like inclusive sex education. Like I want to know how sex works intimately, like the mental toll it has on certain individuals who are not ready for that kind of connection. I want to know when you're with a partner, like what is it you have to say and you don't have to say, and how do you like establish those boundaries? I want to know just the basic like human decency in sex that we're not taught in sex education currently right now.
Where do you think young people are going for information like this? Like, so say that Carla did not know about Amaze, or if you all didn't know about Amaze, where are your friends going for their answers or their questions around their bodies or sex, things like that?
I feel like people are going to like their significant others or people who have been in past relationships, and they're going on this person's like what they think that sex education is, and I feel like because of what they think and it's not actually true, they're getting false information and stuff like that is being spread.
I want more reliability on the internet because I know that we can get so much information from it, but I feel like that's the main problem because we have so much false accusations and rumors being tossed around on the internet. So I feel like it should be more reliable to use because that's what's being used every single day.
Thinking of these educators that are watching this video right now, maybe you're live chatting with them, what type of advice would you give to them in order to kind of have a comfortable environment, whether that's online or in person?
Like, just be honest about what you're saying. You don't have to be sure about anything that you're saying. Just make sure that it's a good piece of advice. It's honest from you knowing what you're talking about and roll with it. So yeah.
I would say be very open and inclusive, especially I find a lot of sexual education, if it's even present, it's very heteronormative. And so if you have those students in your classroom that are maybe questioning their sexual orientation or anything like that, you need to be very open and not biased or say anything that could potentially hurt them or make them feel like they don't belong in this discussion or in this classroom.
Like as Vivian said, the inclusivity, like that same energy put into like heteronormative and like binary sex education needs to be put into non-binary and like transgender education, sex education, because it like we exist and we want to know about our own bodies. We want to know how sex will work for us, how sex impacts us.
I feel like the world should be built up more in love and not in hatred and opinions that can be stereotypes or all these other things. It should just be built up on in love.
That's a wrap. Y'all are great.
And bye.
Just a quick update. We need to do some technical issues. We're going to switch the person that's sharing the screen. I heard that that was a little bit difficult to hear through my internet. In the meantime, in a reflection in the chat, how many of you have ever seen a video like that before, or what are your thoughts as you as we conclude that video? These kids are so intelligent. Great. Very much awareness. So much more open-minded than adults. Children, our students, our youth are fantastic about this. Great.
All right. I'm glad we got to show that a little bit of that resource from amaze.org. It's a website that really focuses on the needs of middle school age youth, which is, it was great when it became available because there was not a lot available, especially contemporary videos and things like that that were aimed specifically at kids between 9 and 14. And so I'm happy to have that's become a resource that's available. They have more than 140 videos online, mostly animated videos. So we're happy to share that resource. Janice, are you able to see my screen now? Great. We're going to talk a little bit about the health education standards.
Okay. So I'd like to give you a little bit of an update as far as where we are with what it looks like to teach health. So many times if we think about what health was like when you had it in high school, or maybe even 10, 15 years ago, that health has changed a lot. And there's a shift in health education that we really like to promote and help everybody understand. So the health education standards, there's one standard, essential concepts, on the very bottom here. It's in the red, that is about the facts about health that we need to make sure everyone is very aware of, right? How diseases are spread, or the essential concepts is what we call that. The rest of the standards are all skills that we want to teach students that helps them increase their health literacy to live a life that's full of healthy, good choices and a healthy lifestyle. So we wanted to make sure that everyone was aware that, especially like when you're talking about health, sexual education, that you're not just going to sit and give facts to students about what an STD is and the contraception that you want to use. We need to be teaching students the skills. How do they set boundaries? How do they communicate? How do they set goals for themselves about a relationship that they want that's healthy? It's going to, so we're going to be modeling and showing you resources that really help you see how you can build a health lesson that addresses these standards and really helps the students with the skills of being a healthy person. And the bottom images are to remind you too, so much of when we say health, a lot of people do just think that it's because of the required sexual health classes. And that's not the only part of health education. A healthy person also too needs to know about nutrition and physical activity and individual growth and development, all of these 6 content areas that are at the bottom. And each of those content areas, we get to practice those skills over and over and over again. So we wanted to show you this image because hopefully you're going to start seeing it more often as California has adopted a framework that will be using these tools and resources to help guide teachers in teaching health education. The next slide is going to show us and help us know where and when do we teach sexual health. Now you'll notice at the very top of this chart, right, are those 6 content areas that we just talked about: nutrition, physical activity, individual growth and development, injury prevention and safety, and so on. But do you notice in that individual growth and development, there's 2 columns there, because there's individual growth and development, which is like basic hygiene, and what does it look like to grow in our body systems, and what the things that we need to be doing about how we're developing. Sexual health, though, when we start talking about the reproductive system and healthy relationships, really, there's no standards until 5th grade. And so we really want to help teachers understand how the standards are written about when we teach sexual health. In individual growth and development in kindergarten, we might be talking about relationships like what it looks like for personal boundaries, right? We want kindergartners to know where is a healthy boundary for me and where I feel comfortable, and where's not, where's a boundary that someone is coming in and I don't feel comfortable. So those conversations will start. But when we start talking about the actual content that many people are have a lot of concerns about, I just wanted to put that on the table too. It's really not until those older grade levels. So we wanted to show you this chart. And again, as we go out to the County Office of Eds throughout the next year or two, we're going to be helping teachers have more resources to do this. We'll have a new website, californiahealtheducation.org, that will have a lot of resources for you on it. So let's dive into the good stuff that I know that you came in to hear about today too. But definitely the reminder of the California Healthy Youth Act. And so I'm going to turn this over to Amy, who's from Planned Parenthood, who has a lot of resources and expertise in helping us understand about the California Healthy Youth Act.
Hey, hi everybody. Thank you so much for having me here today. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what the California Healthy Youth Act is and the requirements and some of the rules and the mandates that follow within. So the California Healthy Youth Act, or CHYA, is what I'll use, and you'll hear that acronym probably a lot as you start to learn more about CHYA. But it is comprehensive sexual health education that is mandated in the state of California. So in 2016, this went into effect, and in 2019, they did do a minor update just to include language that this also includes all public schools and also charter schools. So comprehensive sexual health education should now be happening twice. It should be happening in middle school and it should be happening in high school. So and it's going to look a little bit different in both of those grades because we're following the age appropriateness and being medically accurate and things like that. If sexual health is covered in K through 6, which is not required, but it is allowable as long as it follows the required criteria. So go ahead and go to the next slide. So the California Healthy Youth Act does include Ed Code. So it's 51930 to 51939. And it has a lot more. I suggest, if you are really interested in teaching California Healthy Youth Act and learning a lot about it, I do suggest you go through and look and read it in its entirety, as it does have a lot of good information and a lot of nuances that we're not going to be able to cover necessarily all tonight. But the intention of the California Healthy Youth Act is to ensure that all students develop knowledge and skills necessary to protect their sexual and reproductive health, to develop healthy attitudes around sexual health, and ultimately to have healthy, positive, and safe relationships and behaviors. Go ahead and go on to the next slide. So that means that we have to introduce a bunch of new requirements or a bunch of new content that previously was not mandated prior to CHYA. So prior to 2016, the only requirements were HIV and AIDS prevention education. So as you can imagine, going into CHYA, it's now that we're being comprehensive, it introduces a lot more content. So there are some guidelines that do have to be followed. So it does have to be abstinence-based instruction. So that means that we are talking about abstinence as the only 100% way to prevent pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections, but it cannot be messages of abstinence only. So abstinence only education is actually illegal in the state of California for public schools. So we are talking about abstinence, we're making sure that's in there, but it also has to include other content areas such as teen dating violence, human trafficking, both labor and sex trafficking. We're talking about gender identity and expression, pregnancy prevention, and that includes all FDA-approved methods of contraception, and also talking about pregnancy options. So if someone were to get pregnant, what are the options they have, whether that is, obviously prenatal care, adoption, and abortion, and also the safe surrender baby law are all things that need to be addressed through CHYA. And then now we're also not just HIV and AIDS education, but it's all sexually transmitted infections. And next slide. And parental notification. So one of the things about CHYA is that, and one of the ways to be incredibly successful with doing CHYA compliance in schools is, I think, transparency with parents. And there are some mandates that are written into CHYA. So there does have to be parental notification. So schools are required to notify parents and caregivers at least 14 days prior to instruction. So that means that whether it's a note sent home or an email or however we communicate to parents, they know that their student is going to be receiving this education. And then they also have to make sure that the materials are available to be viewed. So whether the materials are available at the individual school site, or some schools or some districts choose to keep a copy at the district office, and then parents can go to the district office. Now with in the current COVID situation, with everything being virtual, I know a lot of schools are putting it on like box.com or some kind of electronic website, so that parents can still go on and can view the materials prior to their young people getting that instruction. And then also sometimes there's confusions about the parental opt-out piece, but parents can actually opt their children out of CHYA education, but they cannot opt them out of people. So things like, so say there's 5 lessons, we're just going to say 5, and it's, or let's just, so contraception, sexually transmitted infections, and gender. So they couldn't say, I don't want my child to get the gender piece. Schools have a liability there. They're not able to grant that wish. So again, they can opt out of content, but not the people. And also, it is not a permission slip. So, or like a permission. So it's just parental notification. So the schools are not required. In fact, they should not be sending out permission slips and having parents sign them back, because this is not, it's not a permission slip. It's a parental notification. We are telling the parents, this is when it's happening, who's providing the education, and what we're using. And if parents decide they do not want their young person to attend the classes, then the parent then needs to contact the school and let the school know that they'll be opting their student out of it.
So the way that works on a practical setting in San Francisco schools, as an example, is that we print a notification in our parent family handbook that goes home to all families, and it explains that any family who wants to opt their child out of this type of education would have to write a letter to the school and explain that. But it's not like Amy said, it's not a permission slip that goes home that says, we want to let you know this is coming up, please give your permission for your child to be in it. It's more passive than that. It's what we call passive consent rather than active consent.
Next slide. So I think we'll put, because I don't think you can you click on these and they'll see, I have the links, so I can put the links in the chat too. But I always, the more information, there are so many resources and information out there that really kind of break down, because, I don't know how many people like to read legislation and things like that. So there are some really great resources that are out there. Can you click on those, or should I just put the links in the chat? Let me see if I can.
We can put the links in the chat for you, Amy.
I'll put the links in the chat, but just to go over what these resources are, the CHYA and Fair Education Act resource is something I believe the OCDE put together. Oh, she put that in there. There we go. And it's actually a really great comparison that just breaks down the basics of what each of those, what CHYA and the Fair Education require. And then the K through 6 guidance on content. So that was, I believe that is the slide that we saw previously. And then the CDE, so the CDE website, the California Department of Education website, has a whole website on what CHYA is. It is actually currently on many of the areas of the CDE website are under construction right now. So it should be up soon, but they're updating the letter from the superintendent of schools, and they're updating some of the just content to better reflect our current times and provide some guidance. So if you go on there right now, I think you do run into some, many of the websites or many of the pages will say under construction, check back soon, because I did click through it yesterday. And then they are working on updating a lot of this content that's on there right now. Next slide. I think this is back to you, Janice.
Okay, so what we like to do is take a second to capture some of your thoughts and reflections. So again, in the chat, we'll put the Jamboard one more time. I can do that while Chris is pulling that up, because we want to see where we can support you, where we can, let me pull that up. So if we go into the Jamboard, you're gonna go to page 2 of the Jamboard. So up at the top, you're going to see that there is, so you can view it there. We can click it through the presentation or in the chat. We're going to go to page 2. So after you've heard, right, we watched a video hearing about what middle school students want to hear and have part of their sexual health classes. We heard about the laws that we need to follow, the guidelines that we've been given too, and how important it is to be really accessible. Access and inclusivity is huge when we want to make sure that we're connecting with all of our students. So we're going to take a pause for you to create some Post-it notes again. What's one thing that you're excited about hearing? And what's one thing that you're wondering about with where we are right now in these conversations that we're starting to show you? We're ending the training today with several resources, both curriculum as well as trainings for you as a teacher. But right now, it's a good time to reflect if, now that you've heard this, what would you like to maybe that sparks a fire in you that you are excited about and still something that you have questions about? So that's what we're going to be doing now. Those of you that joined in a little bit later, if you need help on using the Jamboard, again, it's part of Google Suites. It's something free, a resource for us that's great to anonymously capture students' thoughts and feelings and reflections. So you're going to use this Post-it note icon that's on the left. It looks like a piece of paper. You're going to click on that, and that creates a Post-it note where you can write on it. You can insert it there, make it bigger or smaller, exactly what we're doing, that you can change the color. Sometimes it might be, okay, I'm going to ask, on the green paper, you see something you're excited about. So everything needs, all of your Post-it notes could be green. You can do it any way you want, but I'm going to go ahead and be quiet now so you can go ahead and do the activity. The other thing that's great about this resource is that you have access to it now. It's in your Google Drive. So beyond the presentation, we can go back to it as teachers and look and see what the students wrote. Or as a student, you can go back and read other students' feedback and thoughts. If you don't feel comfortable with a Jamboard either, feel free to share some things in the chat. Or if you're on a phone, can't do it either.
Janice, there was a question on the Jamboard about when the health framework will be published. And I know that Orange County has been really involved with that. Do you want to talk about sort of its status as far as being published?
Sure. I wish I knew, to be honest with you. I'm right with you. It's kind of funny that we've had, we're finishing up the contract of the 3-year contract that we've had to train on the framework, and yet we don't have a published actual in hand to have on my desk copy. So you are able, however, to go to the California Department of Ed, and if you do health education, you're able to look at it by chapter, and it's downloadable at this point. So you're more than welcome to do that. I do feel that it's a fantastic framework that is really carrying the weight of how we want to really change classrooms and creating safe and healthy, inclusive classrooms. So take a look at chapter 7 right away if you want to do some reading. Also, I'd really encourage you to connect with your county office of education, because there is a series of trainings that are coming with that framework. Hopefully there needs to be 3 to 4 that happen this school year. It should be 4. Trainings that should be offered by your county office of education, where there will be an online course that you're reading about the new framework and understanding what that shift is in health education. And then there should be about a 1 to 2 hour workshop where it's like this, where you're coming together as a community and networking and hearing about challenges and coming together with solutions about how we want to teach more health education in California. If you need help with any of finding contacts at your county office of ed, we're here to help you with that too, because I can connect you with your leads that are in that area. Okay.
So the health ed framework has been approved. It is in place. However, there's not a nice typeset version of that. That's what's on the way, along with an accompanying website. I really like the work that's happened as far as making the trainings for the health ed framework. So what Janice said, I just want to second that the online trainings that are available from the County Office of Education in each county in California are really great, and those are rolling out this year. And encourage you to take advantage of those when they're announced in your area. So looking at the Jamboard, it seems like people are excited about a lot of things. Some advocacy for wondering about how to make this a real year-long class in some places. Some folks wondering about positive prevention, which is one of the curricula that's available. People were interested to learn about the opting out rules, and but in general, it seems like folks are pretty excited about this this change in California policy and law. Were there any other things you wanted to address, Amy or Janice, before we move on from here? All right. So we're going to now talk a little bit about distance learning, which I know a lot of folks in California are teaching online, and trying to figure out how to teach sex ed online is really daunting and seems really hard to do. And so I just want to acknowledge that is true. It is really hard to do. It's a class that, health class in general, but especially sensitive topics, really they do well when you have a teacher who's a caring professional who can be really understanding the nuances of what's going on in their class and reading the room and reacting to the needs of their own students. So I want to acknowledge that, and we're going to give you some ideas for doing the best you can. And I think every teacher that I've talked to is a little bit dissatisfied, sometimes a lot dissatisfied with how distance learning is going. But it is one of the things we're doing to try and get through this time alive and healthy. So some special considerations. Not all students are going to have their own place to learn. Not everybody has their own bedroom. Sometimes they're on the couch in the middle of the living room. Sometimes they have 3 siblings crawling around in the same space. They may not feel as comfortable asking questions as they might in a separate classroom environment. Headphones might be a really good idea. If you have somebody asking what resources could we provide or recommend for students, a set of headphones can help with privacy. All teachers in California are mandated reporters. This sometimes comes up when we're talking about issues around sexuality, that if you have a sense that someone is dealing with abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, you are still required to report it, even if it's something a suspicion that comes up in a Zoom meeting. So just to be aware of that and to know who to call. And then to provide your students with resources. There's a lot of folks who are struggling right now emotionally. So maybe making an extra effort to let students know that there is help available. Look out for your colleagues as well. And make sure that things like the suicide prevention hotline, the transgender trans helpline, things like that are available, and things that you connect people to regularly. And to think about your local resources. If someone is needing health services in person, to think about where you could send them or where you could connect them. Sex ed is a really good place to set some guidelines for class. The expectations, I think when we're online, sometimes there's a temptation if something is happening around sexuality, sometimes people want to take a screenshot or shoot a video or record other students. So being really clear about what your guidelines are and what's allowed and what's not allowed. And doing that in a way to help students feel comfortable and also to help protect yourself. And I know when in doing teacher coaching that this is a area where sometimes folks get really nervous if they're coming up, I'm going to do a condom demonstration tomorrow, and I just cannot get through that without getting red in the face or stumbling over the words. It is totally okay to practice ahead of time, and it's totally okay to record yourself ahead of time and throw out the bad clips. You don't have to, you can get through those most embarrassing moments and practice, pre-record it, say, here's a video of me teaching this, here's a video of somebody else teaching it. As long as you're getting the information across, you can have some flexibility with how you do that. Providing a place for you to check in with students outside of class is a good idea. And there is a tradition in health class of doing anonymous questions, which I think is a great best practice for answering people's questions and addressing the needs of students. You don't have to do that on distance learning, and I would recommend not doing it live if you are going to do it. Students can submit their questions with, say, a Google form or some other anonymous forum. They could put them on a Jamboard. You saw that not people's names aren't attached to those, so that's a place to collect questions. Often when you're doing anonymous questions, people ask things, some real serious questions that they really want to know, and sometimes questions that they just want to see, can I get this teacher to answer my crazy question, or can I make them angry or upset or embarrassed? So screening out for those questions a little bit. You don't have to answer every question from students. You can refer them to a trusted online resource that answers questions like that. So there's lots of ways to kind of make that more comfortable for you as the instructor. And now we're going to talk about how to get better at this, where can you learn more, and what resources are available.
Okay, hi everybody, Amy again. So I just wanted to share a little bit about what Planned Parenthood as an organization can assist with when it comes to CHYA. So CHYA does allow for guest speakers and consultants as long as they are, following all the guidance of CHYA. So there's a couple ways that your local Planned Parenthood affiliate can help, and we have 7 affiliates in California, which I'll show you in just a second. But all of them have the ability to help with technical assistance. So we've all been teaching comprehensive sex ed for way before CHYA. So a lot of us and a lot of the staff are experts in the content that you heard, all those new content areas that might not necessarily be content areas that there has been a lot of professional development training around. So any of our affiliates can come and help do some technical assistance, whether that's setting up CHYA for your campus, or we can help with also doing professional development trainings for teachers and administrators. So we find one of the best ways for a school to embrace CHYA is for folks to be trained, starting from the principal and all the way down to the teachers. So we do a lot of professional development trainings at schools and with districts. We can provide technical assistance and also parents. We also do a lot of education with parents and doing preview nights for the content and giving them tips and things on how they can support their young people at home as they're going through the education. And then all of our affiliates also do direct classroom education. So each of our affiliates has a little different curriculum. And we are right now doing synchronous and asynchronous virtual education. So I know I saw a lot of the comments came up about doing, the comprehensive sex ed piece virtually. And so what we've done is we've worked, especially for my affiliate, so I'm Orange and San Bernardino counties in Southern California. And so we've worked a lot with our schools to come up what works with them. So it looks a little bit different for each site. And we work closely with our teachers so that, we come in and just teach one of the lessons because they need some help with the human trafficking piece. So we can come in and help with that. Or sometimes they'll have us do the entire education. And like I said, we've been able to pre-record a lot of the content and have it available online. So students then can, like one of the large districts we've worked with, we basically left it open for 3 weeks, and students had 3 weeks to kind of go in and do the lessons on their own. And then we were able to create 5-question worksheets so that the teacher knew that they completed the viewing. So that seemed to work out great. Next one. I think this next one is just a map of your local affiliates. So like I said, in California, we have 7 different affiliates. And so, yes, I'll put the link in there too, but you can reach out to your local education department. We meet on a monthly basis just to make sure that we are all working together and we share resources. So a lot of us we all work well together. So, you have that as a resource. And then the last thing I wanted to share with you, which is on the next one, this is a brand new, and I literally, it's been alive for about a month now, but it's called Sex Ed to Go, and this was developed through our Southwest affiliate, so our San Diego area, and it has pre-recorded content. So there's currently 6 courses for teachers, 9 courses for students, and it's available in English and Spanish, and it just goes through different content areas to give information and tips on how to teach some of the content areas, and we'll put the link. Oh yeah, I put the link in there. So thank you. For teachers, it is free through the end of this year. So through 2020, the trainings are all completely free, and they're really quick, and they're actually cool because you can go in, you can start a course and then come back later, but it's really interactive. And they seem, I mean, I've taken all these trainings too. They're really great information and really great starter courses. And like I said, they're going to be free through the rest of this year. And then you also can get, you can link to your different affiliates at the end of the training as well, if in California, if you want more trainings or for dedicated trainings for your campuses. And I think that those are my resources. But use your resources. That's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amy. I did one of the Sex Ed to Go classes, and I think it's really well done. And even if you just want to hear someone else say the words that you are expected to say in front of a class, hearing from a trained professional who does this every day, it can be really helpful, and that's included in that training. We're going to do a quick overview of some materials to use with students. We mentioned amaze.org, that they have a ton of videos. They're all short animated videos, pretty cute and quick. I think we are not going to actually show this video, but if you go to the slides, you'll be able to watch this 2-minute video about Amaze. They also have a site for younger kids called Amaze Junior, and a site for parents called Amaze Parents. And they're all really well done in multiple languages. As far as this, they're subtitled in multiple languages, and a really comfortable way for a lot of people to use to talk about sexuality. The website 3rs.org is from Advocates for Youth, which is a national nonprofit organization. They have a K-12 sexuality curriculum that is free. There is a Google Classroom version of it that a lot of people have been using for distance learning, and they actually incorporate a lot of the Amaze videos into those lessons, so it works pretty well together. Someone asked in the chat if Amaze is a curriculum or more of a supplement. It's a supplement, but if you go on their website, they do have lessons built around some of those and often linked to 3Rs. So 3Rs is a great recommendation for free lessons, and they have a California specific version that meets the California Healthy Youth Act regulations. They have a really good teacher guide on 3Rs. So even if you're teaching some other curriculum, if you just want the basics of like how do you talk about sexuality, their teacher guide is a good thing to read before you start teaching sex ed. And it's K through 12, that curriculum. And then the curriculum that we developed in San Francisco along with our local Planned Parenthood and some other organizations is called Be Real, Be Ready. We've made that available for free as well. And this is a high school curriculum that again is designed to meet all of the regulations of the California Healthy Youth Act. You can just go to tinyurl.com/BeRealBeReady to see those lessons, and feel free to use them. They've been adopted by a number of other districts outside of San Francisco. Janice mentioned this earlier, but there's some upcoming sessions that I think we wanted to mention a little bit.
Yes, definitely. So you'll notice the icons again, and it's the icon with the family or the 4 individual, like 2 adults and 2 children. That's our individual growth and development icon for the content area. Or you could also think of it as a child growing and becoming an adult too. Basically, that would be session 3 when we would be talking and diving more into this content area with sexual health. So we do have the 4 trainings, but if you're very interested or feel like you need a lot more support, please pay close attention for session 3 is what you're going to be looking for. And I would expect that to be happening at your county office of eds in the spring, probably April, May. Some of them might be going into June because of everything that's going on. They might need to have these, like they just are starting with 1 right now. And so by the time you get to 3, it might be definitely March or April in the spring. So that's what we wanted to let you know about. Okay, and as we leave here, and we'll all stay on for a couple minutes too, if you'd like to ask any more questions, but just to respect everybody's time, we'd love for you to do one last Jamboard activity where you're able to share your thoughts of how the session went today, but more importantly too, this is only our second one. So if you would like more information in regards to the health education field from Cahperd, will you please let us know? Let us know some suggestions for future health ed sessions that you'd like through these core series. So we wanted to leave that as the last Jamboard activity. But for those of you that need to go, we understand, we appreciate you joining. But if you'd like to stay and chat for a couple minutes, we could do that as well. Great job, Chris and Amy. I think a lot of people were really happy to see all the resources that are available for helping teachers. I'm hearing too that parents are actually really enjoying like having that support to help talk to their children more. And so it's kind of an interesting scenario that we have happening right now of sexual health education coming into the home and providing supports for parents to start communicating and talking with their youth.
Yeah, I know when I started teaching sex ed, I expected that I'd get a lot of resistance from families, that people would sort of be like, why are you talking to my kid about this stuff? That was the attitude I expected, and much more I've had family members come up and say, oh, thank goodness you're here to talk to my kid about this, because I know we need to do it, but I just don't know what to say. And I really like to promote the idea that health education class is a great place to give families an excuse to have those conversations that are sometimes hard to start up. So you're learning about this in school. I want to tell you what I think about it and what our family values are. So I really encourage families to connect with the content in the class and use it as something to talk about at home.
I want to thank our presenters. Thank you, Chris, Amy, and Janice. You guys did a great job. We really appreciate it. And I want to remind everybody that you can see this again on the Cahperd YouTube channel, and it will also be on the Cahperd website, along with information about any of the resources that they covered today. Thank you very much. And like Janice said, let us know if there's anything more you need.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thank you, Patty, for helping us pull this together.
Yeah. I have to make these Jamboards bigger on my screen.